Today in the EU, Unpacking the Polish Presidency with diplomat Sobkowiak-Czarnecka. Yesterday marked the inauguration ceremony of the Polish presidency of the Council. For the next 6 months, they lead and coordinate the 27 member states under the motto Security, Europe. But even convincing member states on agreeing on what security means will be extremely difficult, to say the least. So how is the Polish presidency preparing for its mandate? Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Giada Santana, and this is Today in the EU. So we just got in the council. It's me, Charles, and Miriam. The whole Today in the EU team is here.
I really like the color scheme, though.
Yeah, this blue is really powerful.
It reminds me of plain blue. Actually, no.
Plain blue?
Yeah. It's like,
Oh, and here's the artist. Right when we walked in, we saw the hall. It was surrounded by colorful art installations, and you really couldn't help but notice them. As we were waiting for the interview, we got to chit-chat with Giada Santana, the Polish artist who created them.
The whole installation have 3 groups of elements. So one of it is fountains, and they say about the climate change from perspective of water.
Do you usually work on environment? Is it the environment the main topic of your art?
Yes, this is the main topic of my works. And what I would like to highlight here is the representatives, or the need of representative care and solidarity with non-humans, I mean animals and plants, and special fountains, they are about it. There's a lot of very tiny elements in this installation.
How did you make that?
Yeah, it's all made by clay, by myself, months of work.
All of this on your own?
Yes, yeah. Then I came here to this massive building and I saw the space. I thought that I will die. It's so big. And the other thing is that the whole of this clay is local. It's from south of Poland. Actually, Poland has big resources of clay.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
As much as it was great to chat with Giada Santana, it was time for the interview with the number 3 in the EU Affairs Ministry, Magdalena Sobkowiak-Czarnecka. How are you preparing for this presidency, or how have you prepared mentally, emotionally, physically?
It was quite overrun since the new government came in December last year. I came into the office in January. So my team had around 11 months to prepare the presidency. And I remember that at the very beginning, we went to Spain, we went to Sweden to talk to our colleagues how to prepare to the presidency. And every team was showing to us the timeline, writing that 4 years before the presidency, you should do this, 3 years before the presidency, you should do this. And my team's eyes were getting bigger and bigger since they knew that they had only 11 months. So it was quite of a sprint, but I think we are fully ready. And this moment is very special because all those ideas that we were discussing, all those ideas that we had on paper, now you can see. Of course, this is time very intensive. Also in the private life that you don't have many time for your family. But since I was also a Brussels correspondent for Polish media, so I perfectly know how we work here. And it's a bit like being a correspondent here now on the other side.
The rotating presidency is an opportunity for member states to showcase their culture. Is there a specific aspect of the Polish one that you want to convey?
Yeah, there are many of them. I feel it since the Polish motto of the presidency is Security Europe. And if you think more about security, you can feel secure if you feel understood by others. And there's no better way to understand each other, to be in a dialogue than culture. If you look through culture, there's no borders, there's no boundaries, there's no languages. It's I would say, one language of piece of art, of culture. So it's very connected with our motto, with our main theme of the presidency.
Let's delve into the program. As you said, the motto of the presidency is Security Europe! Exclamation mark. Your first priority is defense and security. And one of the most sensitive issues at stake is defense spending of member states, increasing it. How do you plan on achieving that? Your role is one of leader and coordinator of member states. So what's the strategy that you're planning to use for the next months?
I remember working here as a correspondent more than 10 years ago when Putin invaded Crimea. And Polish politicians were speaking here very, very loudly in Brussels, saying, be aware of what's Putin doing. And though there was no understanding here. And after 10 years, what we hear now from our partners, and even President von der Leyen, she said it in Poland, in Katowice, that she said, we should have listened to you earlier. So for this moment, I really count on it that this time member states will listen to Poland, how we should focus on our defense. And of course, there are two different projects, NATO and EU. But the subject of defense EU, it's getting more and more important. I was working for some time here in the European Commission in DG GROW. And at that time, it was 2016-17, part of DG GROW as the internal market was defense. And only one unit was dealing with defense. After 7-8 years, we have special DG about defense. We have special commissioner about defense. So this issue is getting more and more important. You asked about spendings on defense. We should have a stronger defense industry in EU. There are different ways how to achieve it, different ideas. And the presidency as such is a task how to lead EU to compromises to the agreements. So this will be a very big task for our presidency to have the compromise on spending on defense, which I really hope that we will deal with it.
Mm-hmm. Your target as a country for 2025 is to reach around 5% of your GDP in defense spending. Is the country on track? Because, as you were saying, you are leading by example when it comes to the war in Ukraine.
The country is absolutely on track. We decided to be on this track many, many years ago. And we are following it every year. We are still next to our border. There is a war zone.
It's true that there has been an increasing degree of awareness regarding how consequential the Kremlin's actions are for the whole bloc. At the same time, if we look at countries like Germany and Austria, there's widespread discontent with how much money and resources Western countries are injecting into Ukraine. So it will take a good, nearly impossible amount of convincing to change their mind. Short term, how does the presidency plan to improve the situation on the front lines?
Of course, the big task for Polish presidency will be keep the unity in terms of sending support to Ukraine, money, equipment. And as we know from the last years, there were some doubts in European countries. And this is a big task for Polish presidency to keep it going. That's the first one. Second one is about enlargement. We are hoping to open the first cluster in the talks with Ukraine about enlargement. Of course, about enlargement, it's not only the case of Ukraine. There are different countries who are trying to be a part of EU. And we as a presidency will be following as merit-based enlargement, and we will try to achieve as many as possible with different member states, with different countries who are trying to be a part of EU. I would say also giving a hope to Ukrainian people that we are here also with them, and we keep the fingers crossed, and we are trying to help as much as possible.
Well, beyond keeping fingers crossed, some would argue that what we need is a peace deal. If a peace deal were brokered right now, because of the geopolitical situation in Europe, there's not a clear leader that would spearhead negotiations on the European side. So do you think this is an opportunity for Poland to show its teeth?
Everybody hopes that at some point there will come the end of the war. but the end of the war could not be against Ukraine. And Ukrainians should be a part of the conversation. This is what we think.
Thinking out, of course, this negotiating table will include President Donald Trump. How do you think this deal, this facing this new United States, will go?
New president of United States is coming to White House on the 20th of January. Of course, we as a presidency, we are ready on every moment to, if there will be a need, that we will open the discussion. We will call for the extra counsels if there's needed. So, yes, we will see what will happen after the 20th of January.
This was Euractiv's podcast, Today in the EU. Sound design by Miriam Sáenz de Tejada and Niels de Keokelare. Research and production by Charles Cohen. Visit Euractiv to stay on top of the latest news and sign up for our newsletters. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and your favorite streaming platforms. Don't forget to subscribe and give us a review. It will really help us spread the word about our work. See you tomorrow. As part of our commitment to accuracy, inclusion, and transparency, Euractiv is part of the Trust Project.